Alright boys, so I was about half right when it came to Hephaestion. To be honest, like watching that live stream a couple days ago, I had no idea what was going on with this servant. There was a lot of confusion as to whether or not she was going to be another 5-star pretender, but you know, Reigns is already the 5-star for the event and there was no way they were going to do double 5-star. So half right in that she's a 4-star, but I was really hoping that for whatever reason that they made her another free-to-play servant. I don't really know why I really thought and believed they were going to be doing that, but I was like, you know what, double free-to-play servant sounds super dope. Maybe it was the art style, because the art style when it was revealed, I was like, that kind of looks like a free-to-play servant right there, but nope, I guess she's just a summonable 4-star pretender. Thankfully, she is a permanent servant. She is not exclusive by any means, which is also really weird because typically when these exclusive events come around and their 4 and 5 stars are out, they're usually exclusive servants. Like Reigns is an exclusive servant. She's limited. You can't just get Reigns on any banner, but I guess that's a good thing that you can get this pretender on any banner. It does kind of add less stress to trying to summon for her, so if you really want Hephaestion, but you also really don't want Reigns, you can at the very least wait for a future banner, which is a mistake that I made with Nikki, by the way. I didn't realize that Nikki was on every banner, and so I went absolute ham taro trying to summon for her, and then I just got her in the next banner, and it made me pretty upset. So don't be like me. If you don't want to summon on this banner, just wait for her to come to you on some other banner that you want to go absolutely crazy for. Now, she does actually seem pretty good, as we're going to talk about in today's video. So if you do decide to summon on the banner, which all in all, I think this is a very strong banner to try to summon on because you get Reigns or Hephaestion, right? Like, it's just a very strong banner to go for because both of these servants are insanely strong. Reigns is a support type servant and Hephaestion as an actual just single target art servant. So we're going to talk about that in today's video, but if you have not already, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out more than you know. If you want to go that extra mile and show your support for the channel for free, I am affiliated by all means with LD Emulator and Loot Cakes, both down in the description down below. Common question I get, no, you will not get banned if you put your account on LD Emulator. FGO is actually pretty chill about people playing on emulator, so don't worry about that, you'll be absolutely fine. Finally, if you want bonus content, I stream every weekday over on my Twitch. You can click that link down in the description down below, go over to my Twitch page, look at the schedule, and see generally around what time I stream in your local time, so you can try to make it out to this stream. But if you're absolutely just continuing to be starving for content, if the daily uploads, the streams aren't enough for you, you can click that join button and become a channel member and get access to channel member exclusive content. Currently working on the Benny Enma Challenge Quest video for channel members, throwing up the commentary for that. So if you're looking forward to that, be a channel member, click that join button. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into this video, starting off with Hephaestion's hits. Which all in all, for a single target arts DPS type servant, her hits are absolutely fine. Nothing super insane, nothing super crazy to write home about. One of the things that I immediately noticed when I was looking at the servant is that she has absolutely insane 19.8% star gen, which does mean she should be able to drop a fair bit of stars, especially because she also has a passive skill that gives her an additional 10% star gen as well. And then when you factor in things like her quick card having 3 hits on it, or having the strong 5-hit extra attack, and also the fact that her buster cards also have 3 hits on them, because if you didn't know, buster cards are also somewhat good at genning stars if the star gen is high enough, and the star gen at this point is kind of in that range of being high enough. So between those cards, she actually can drop a fair bit of stars for herself, which is a little unique and interesting, because you don't usually see arts DPS servants having the capacity to make their own stars, so her being able to do that is actually a little standout. But then most importantly, there are her arts cards, because she's an arts DPS servant. Obviously, these have to be pretty good. And for her, they're pretty fine. They're nothing super exceptional with 0.59% NP gain, 3 hits on 2 arts cards. You're going to be pretty fine when it comes to those. If you're not critting, you should get along just fine, especially because she has something very broken in the back pocket in case you're having really big trouble genning her NP. But with her ability to also seemingly create her own stars, you should be fine to get some decent arts crits in there every now and then, which does mean you'll get some pretty decent NP refund back. But again, as I'm saying, we'll get the skill too, and that kind of just fixes a lot of her NP problems if you're really having any, because already at face value, she looks pretty fine. But then moving on to skill 1, you just get a whole smorgasbord of good effects here. She's giving herself a 30% buff to both her arts and buster cards for 3 turns, which is very good because she has a double arts and double buster deck. And so this is not only going to raise the damage of both of those cards, but it's also going to raise the NP gain of the arts cards, which is very key. But that's not all she's getting, because she's also getting a buff against caster class enemies, where she does double damage against them and actually takes half damage from them as well. So basically, she gives herself type advantage against casters, which, if you don't remember, because, you know, we haven't really gotten a whole lot of pretenders, they're kind of a new class. Pretenders are the opposite of the alter egos, where alter egos do negative damage to the knight class enemies, and they do double damage to the cavalry class enemies. Pretenders are the opposite way around. They do double damage to knight class, but take or just basically don't do any damage against the cavalry class enemies. So essentially what this does is it gives her a +1 on who she's effective towards, because now she's not only good against the knight class enemies, but she's also good against casters, which I guess the whole point of them doing that is that she's supposed to be Iskandar, right, quote unquote. So it's like, oh, she's also a rider with quotation marks around it. I kind of get what they're doing. It's a neat bit of little like lore that they're throwing in there, where they're like, oh, because she's Iskandar, we'll give her like kind of rider class advantage as well. I think it's very interesting, but it does also allow her to hit really hard. Like if you look at her NP damage, which we'll look at later, she's kind of middle of the pack, but whenever she has this caster buff up, dude, you gotta get out of the way, because she is just obliterating them as soon as they come into her path. Like, it's funny because the other day, literally, we were talking about there being no good single target arts riders. We were like, this is kind of one of those classes that doesn't really have a strong option for this. And Hephaestion is essentially the single target arts rider that we've been looking for, because even though she's a pretender, with this skill, she might as well just be a rider. So I think that's actually really funny that we were talking about that yesterday on stream, you know, shout out to the stream. And then just literally the next day, they're like, all right, here's Hephaestion, who basically is a single target arts rider. I think that's pretty funny. Moving on to skill 2, though, she has a 120% battery. Yes, you heard me correct. A 120% battery. Why does she have this? I have no idea. It's completely unnecessary to give to a DPS who already had a very strong opening with her first skill. But this just makes her absolutely insane, because now immediately, as soon as you go into the battle, you have immediate access to her NP. This means she's not only going to be extremely good for farming, but extremely good for challenge quests as well. God forbid you have a weird node where it's casters and it's like 3-1-3 type node where you fight 3 enemies in wave 1 and then 1 big enemy in wave 2, then it's 3 enemies in wave 3. God forbid that happens and you bring Hephaestion and just beat the fear of the Lord or Iskandar, whatever this lady believes in, into that caster enemy. It's just absolutely a wrap. But even outside of that, again, looking at her NP1 damage, she does enough that even if you have her there, she's gonna be good for clearing weird nodes, where it either starts off with one really strong enemy, or there's a really just strong one enemy node for the second wave, stuff like that. She's gonna be an insane killer for stuff like that. And that's just the kind of nutty insanity that a 120% battery enables. And even if you don't have the lore, you can just bring her to skill level 8 and still have a 102% battery, which means you can literally hit her with any type of CE. It's so absolutely broken to just have immediate access to your NP for both farming and challenge quest nodes, and is definitely helping out Hephaestion a lot. Finally, there's her third skill. This is just kind of like a nice cherry on top. It gives her a taunt for 1 turn, big, massive 50% defense for 1 turn, 30% NP generation rate for 1 turn, and then as a weird demerit, she absorbs the party's curses to herself, which you will probably never run into that being an actual demerit, because half the time you're not going to be cursed anyway, because it's kind of a crapshoot as to whether or not the enemies are going to hit you with some weird debuffs like that. Kind of depends on what enemy types you're fighting, but even then, even if you do absorb the party's curses to yourself, you're probably not going to die from it unless you just timed it poorly, like if you did it when you only had 1 HP left, which at that point, Hephaestion was probably going to get obliterated anyway. But this is a very, very strong skill because A, it functions as a very good support type skill if you want to keep somebody alive in the party. You pop this skill, Hephaestion takes all the damage, but she's not really taking that much damage because she has 50% defense for that turn, so it's a very, very good taunt skill to keep other party members alive. Or this can be something you pop when you want to fire your NP to get that little bit of extra NP gain back to kind of help you refund and fire a second NP, which you do actually want to do, just skipping ahead to her NP. Because like I've been saying, it does pretty good single target damage. It reduces the enemy that she targets, their Buster and Arts performance by 10% for 3 turns. Unfortunately, does not proc first, but again, as I've been saying, her damage for a single target 4-star servant is actually really strong, so I don't think they wanted to make her too broken. And then one of the things that I think helps her out a lot is that not only is she getting this 10% NP damage from her overcharge effect, but she also has a passive 10% NP damage buff and a passive 12% arts buff as well. So really, when you're looking at all the buffs that she's giving to herself, it's actually a 42% arts buff multiplying into a 20% NP damage buff. And then when you're going in for that second NP, the enemy's also going to be smacked with a 10% arts down as well. So she's really going to be doing a lot of damage, and she's going to be one of those servants that I really love that gets stronger every single turn, which is kind of the meta for servants right now. The meta where servants would just be a really good one-turn pump and dump, or they would drop one really mega awesome, super insane turn, but then their next 2 turns were just absolute dog water. That's kind of falling out for these type of servants that have a really strong opening turn, and then they get stronger and stronger as the fight goes on. Like, their damage starts to ramp up more and more. And Hephaestion is definitely one of those servants. So is she worth summoning for? I mean, dude, she's on a banner with Reigns. Reigns herself is already worth summoning for. Hephaestion being on that banner is just a nice bonus. And yeah, this servant's pretty much going to help out anybody's box, because she's kind of subverting the problems that pretenders and alter egos have, where they have this weird pseudo berserker type thing going on that kind of halters or hinders their ability to do well. But with her being able to completely negate one of those classes that she's actually resistance towards and actually make that a special damage mod for herself, she's definitely going to be excelling. Because for Hephaestion, all you got to worry about are assassins and other riders at this point. Those are the only classes she has to worry about. So she's basically a berserker without berserker class disadvantage, if you want to look at it that way, which I think is quite insane. So yeah, I'm pretty high on this servant. I think she's really, really good. I think she's absolutely insane. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you guys think of Hephaestion? With all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.